Why, hello everyone, Sean here, and welcome to my review for WandaVision, one of the most anticipated shows out there for streaming. This was on Disney Plus, included in the subscription of Disney Plus. So, right off the bat, I can definitely say it's a recommended watch. It is worth your time, I think. That being free, in a way. You can watch all your Disney movies and such, including this Marvel Cinematic Universe TV series with Wanda and of course Vision. This is very interesting to say the least. At least from the surface, anyway. From the trailers, right? You see this weird sort of sitcom that was going on. You kind of wondered what was up with that. So going in, I just didn't know what to think, and first couple of episodes were really interesting. You get to see different sitcoms being introduced or referenced heavily throughout. It's kind of a love letter to those people who love sitcoms, especially the older folks who manages to live through the 50s or 60s, and of course the 70s and 80s, and then the 90s and 2000s and what have you. You kind of get the point. I felt like it was a love letter to those. They even make references to like Malcolm in the Middle, for example, even like the newer stuff like The Office type of humor, including like the whole interview thing, like talking to the camera sort of shtick, right? Those type of quirks that you commonly find in these TV shows nowadays. That was all thrown in here for MCU piece here, so it's kind of weird, and you kind of get to know why this is all happening throughout the story. Of course, everything's kind of explained at some point, and you'll get it. There's no like sort of things hanging at any point. You kind of start to understand what's going on. It starts off interesting, and then the build up was quite good. I really started to thought this was going to be very juicy and such. These are going to be gateways to something really cool, and unfortunately, kind of in layman's terms, the build up kind of led to unfortunately a letdown by the end of it. In my opinion, a lot of things kind of fell flat. While in comparison to other MCU movies or pieces, those tend to be a little more, by the numbers, very safe. They follow like a similar formula for a number of them. You kind of start to get the rhythm of things, right? And then this one potentially had a lot of things interesting going on. But then again, by the end of it, it started to become a little more of that typical sort of like Marvel thing, and for those of you who were lucky enough to not see certain trailers, I think I did it too, because like I felt like one of the trailers made it really obvious, as to what was really going on, and you kind of like, or at least I did, was able to sort of see what was going to happen, and unfortunately, it kind of went that way. But I try to ignore it. Because the build-up, again, it was very interesting. It kind of led things to some places where I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to actually go to a different direction, and the trailer might have been misleading, which could have been really cool. But unfortunately, it fell back into the numbers, that formula you're sort of familiar with. It just became that typical MCU thing by the end of it. So it kind of felt like a wet noodle, when I thought it was going to be something that would blow me away quite a bit. But unfortunately, the finale, again, it kind of just fell flat. So with that less said, it's not horrible by any means. Like I said, it's a recommendation. It's still worth a watch. Since it's included with the subscription, so why not? It's worth checking out still. It's not bad by any means. It does have some cool things to look forward to. It does have some Easter eggs. I think there are some some cool things from other movies or other Marvel movies connecting into this. Of course, it's kind of like, hey, remember this or something like that. Those moments, right? Um, along with the whole sitcom thing going on. And, the performances, I'm going to say, were pretty good. The newer characters were fine. I can get behind them. Other than one certain character that kind of really acted like a really, like a obnoxiously cartoonish character. You would find it like in the 70s or something like that. It's like they're a typical character that's like really stupid, and I could not get behind that character. I really did not like him, and there will be if you watch this, you'll know why. Anyways, don't want to get too much away. So, with all that said, while it is a recommendation, I still would give it a 6 out of 10, just right above average for me. It had so much potential to be really cool and a gateway to something really cool for all the future MCU stuff. It really kind of was a letdown. So yeah, it kind of gets a 6 out of 10. While the production and stuff like that, all the effects and all the music and everything you kind of like see and hear and stuff like that, the actors' performances and all that stuff were good, technically good for a TV series format. The story, where it ended, that was like the biggest letdown for me, and there was a certain point where it was quite the boner kill, and that's the hint I will give you guys for those who haven't watched it already. So, with that, what now at this point I can't really talk any more stuff without spoiling it. So for those who haven't watched it already, go ahead and watch it. It's still a recommendation. It's part of the subscription for why not. You don't have to pay like $30 or anything like that, unlike a certain movie that just came out recently and that sucked, unfortunately. But anywho, we will go into spoilers now. So for those who did watch it already, stick around, and for those who haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. So see you then in the spoilers section of things. Alrighty, so now it is spoiler time. There are some points I do want to talk about. I want to talk about the biggest boner kill that I kind of sort of mentioned in the non-spoilers portion of things. So the biggest letdown out of all this thing, and I believe it happened all during the series finale, was during Quicksilver / Pietro, Wanda's brother, who made a surprise appearance during one of the episodes, and I thought that was really cool. Like, wow, even though I didn't watch the First Class X-Men and that trilogy, I recognize that actor or just that character. I've seen some clips of him and some of the other clips as well, and so I understand that this Quicksilver is from a different universe, essentially. And that could have been a really cool sort of gateway to the X-Men, especially with these X-Men, the first class type of X-Men, right? You could have had Fassbender as Magneto in this universe, or at least entering this universe. So that could have been really, really cool, a cool idea. But unfortunately, that was all kind of crushed once you find out that Pietro Maximoff is not what do you think he is? He's just a dude. He's just a regular person named Ralph Boner, of all names. Of all the things, right? This one kind of hurt the most, honestly. Like me thinking that this could have been a good, cool gateway to all that stuff was all crushed. That's how I felt like when I saw that dude. It was not great. It was not a great feeling. I did not like how that turned out. It turned out that Agatha or Agnes or whatever, Agatha was in control the entire time. Ooh, right. Which actually was not a surprise to me. I think one of the trailers, unfortunately, sort of spoiled it for me. I can't really recall which exact trailer, but maybe I'll uh, throw that in here. But I think you kind of understand where I'm coming from. So that certain trailer really pretty much laid out what's gonna happen, and I thought that Agnes was gonna do something, and what do you know? Agnes did something. She was the puppeteer all along, the master puppeteer of all this whole debacle, and it wasn't really Wanda who was sort of in control. It was Agatha. She's just like this like evil witch from a long time ago, and she went through a lot of trouble trying to access to some power. She's just trying to be the most powerful witch in the universe or the world, of course. And of course, Wanda, being Scarlet Witch, has a lot of power in comparison to Agatha. So Agatha is like, "How do you do all this?" And while I think it was the episode before the finale. Wanda went through all that like past the flashbacks, and I thought those segments were interesting. If I'm gonna be honest, but by the end of it with Agatha, it just became again like this really typical thing. You kind of see things sort of coming in a way. Yeah, I don't know. Like Agatha could have potentially been something else, right? A lot more interesting of a character or villain. Maybe she could have been a villain and kind of turned into an anti-hero, like sort of helping out Wanda in a way, but at the same time being an asshole along the way. You know what I mean? Because like, she does have her moments of like, yeah, you definitely want to hate her. Like she kills, the dog, right? This like, it might have been a make-believe dog, but I mean, who knows? Like now that I do think about it, I think it was a dog that was within the residence, right? And the dog was killed by Agatha. Although before that, it was made to look like an accident of sorts, because the dog ate like the poisonous plant or something like that by accident, and the kids were really sad. You know what I mean? Like that was when they learned about death and all that stuff. And speaking of the kids, I thought the kids could have been a really cool idea to sort of have these as like the new characters. You know what I mean? Like one of them had Wanda's powers, or at least they were similar to Wanda's powers, and of course the other kid had super speed like Quicksilver, right? So she kind of carried the gene from Quicksilver in a way. Although that was kind of weird. It is kind of weird if you think about it, but I guess yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense because yeah, Wanda and Pietro are siblings, so I guess you carried the gene of the super speed, and then but I guess only males can activate it. I don't know, but if you really think about it as a whole, this is all coming from Wanda anyway, so whatever. Because yeah, I mean, Wanda was the one who constructed all this stuff with her powers, unintentionally anyway, because she went through a lot of these emotional breakdowns because Vision died from Infinity War thanks to Thanos taking the Mind Stone prematurely, and it all started because Vision's body was going to be used as a weapon. His remains were being tarnished, tattered, and messed with by, of course, a government body, which is Sword, who was led by this cartoonish villain. I forget his name. I don't really care at this point. I don't like him. He was just not a great character. I just didn't really get behind him. I was not able to sort of put myself in his shoes. I mean, he was just pretty much a typical asshole of a villain. Very stupid at that one. At that, and yeah. So like, and by the end of it, he attempted to shoot at kids. You know what I mean? Like even though they're not real, whoop-de-doo, but he still shot him. He was willing to shoot kids just to, I don't know, like accomplish a mission to get a point across, right? But then Monica Rambeau, the daughter of Captain Marvel's friend, right? The daughter of Captain Marvel's friend, right? She was the pilot from Captain Marvel, expert pilot, best friend as well, and her daughter grew up um, as the movies went along, right? Because since Captain Marvel took place during the 80s/90s, I believe, and so you kind of forget. I kind of forgot that Captain Marvel's movie took place in the 90s or 80s or whatever. So Monica grew up to the present time, and she was a part of Sword. At least, was she the leader, or was she like? I mean, whatever. She's like one of the top officers of Sword or whatever, and she was kind of part of all this and wanted to help out Wanda, and once she attempted to help her out, but that got thwarted, and then she at some point tried to enter again, that got thwarted, but then at some point she just went through the wall, and in that process somehow was able to get some powers. So it seems like she is going to be able to do some, I don't know, maybe some Space Stone stuff or Mind Stone stuff. I don't know. I mean, all I can see is that when she was shot, or when she saved the kids from being shot, the bullets kind of like went through her and just slowed down. And so I was like, oh, okay. So she kind of is able to phase through things, right? Kind of like Vision. So she may have some Vision-esque powers. But who knows? Because, it was from something that Wanda conjures. So maybe she just became a mutant, or not mutant, a meta-human or magical human during that saga. And then by the end of that, her powers went away. Who knows? That remains to be answered, I guess, for the future. So without rambling about Monica too much, I like Monica's part for the most part. I was able to get behind her, and then there was Jim, right? Or Jimmy. He was like the Asian FBI agent. I think he was the captain, right, or something like that. Or what? He was like, he has some authority, right? And then there's Darcy from Thor. Jane Foster's friend, I believe. She was kind of like the brains of a lot of the operation that they did. In a way, she was like extra help. She, had some parts. I did like her. I didn't really mind her. I didn't really find her annoying or anything like that. Anything else? There were like a number of like red herrings in this thing too, like including Quicksilver, and then there was like that mailman, of course, and then like it seemed like a number of characters could have been, I don't know, someone important, but turns out no, not really. Like one of the black characters or something like that. But they're all just turns out that they were all under control of Wanda through her whole sort of emotional breakdown because of Vision. And they all became sort of like NPCs, right? Programmed to be a part of this whole sitcom that Wanda was obsessed in the past. She loved watching sitcoms. It was like the thing she did with her family before something happened. So her family died. She lost her family, excluding her brother, of course, and that's why she sort of had this attachment to sitcoms. It was kind of like a way to bond with her family until that happened. And you kind of get to see more of Wanda's past, which is, again, one of the other interesting parts. There were some, moments of deviation that, kind of gave out hints like, hey, something is wrong here. Not quite what you think it is. So, for example, the very first sign was when, Vision's boss was choking on something, and his wife was like, so it was saying stuff, and then she started to repeat, kind of weird, like it was like a glitch almost. So that was obviously like the first sign, giving you a hint of what was happening, and what could be going, where it could be going by the end of the episode. And of course, it was all kind of a weird reality bubble that Wanda constructed. Yeah, so um, it's hard to say of what was my favorite episode. Like I think honestly, my favorite part was like the whole build up. You know, this all this stuff that kind of led to the next thing, and then like you would think that it would be eventually showing the gateway to the multiverse. That was something I was really looking forward to with Doctor Strange and all that stuff. And that would be the time when like possibly like all the Spider-Man stuff would happen, right? With the three Spider-Man, with Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. You know what I mean? Like that could have been like that sort of small gateway in a way. Of course, there's the X-Men from the First Class series or whatever, the First Class trilogy. Because of Pietro being thrown in there, it was like, it could have been really cool. You know what I mean? Again, it could have been showing or introducing the X-Men that way. But yeah. There's really nothing else to really talk about other than, so there's that White Vision, right? That was like the real Vision. I actually kind of like that fight more than Agatha versus Wanda in a way, because it was kind of clever. It kind of had you thinking in a way. You know what I mean? Like White Vision was programmed to kill Vision, you know what I mean? But the WandaVision said that he wasn't the real Vision. He's just a construct from Wanda, from her emotions. You know what I mean? And so White Vision was just like, all right, I need to recalculate for a second here. And turns out that he can't really remember things. And then WandaVision, of course, knew that he had memories locked behind the programming that Sword gave him to purposely block it out so he can do his bidding or do their bidding as a weapon of sorts. And so WandaVision unlocked those memories, and White Vision was like, I am Vision, and then he just flew away, pretty much. So kind of disappointed with that one, because that could have been a chance for him to come back to Wanda and finally be like, hey, I'm here, hey, you know what I mean? Like, I'm back, kind of, but hey, hey, you know what I mean? That could have been pretty cool, but didn't happen. So, speaking of Agatha and Wanda, again, like, Agatha was just kind of like whatever to me. Like, I didn't really hate her, but at the same time, she could have been something a lot more interesting. But, she's kind of just there to be like, hey, it was me all along, you know what I mean? That was pretty much what I got from her. And then, like, I can do this and that, but you have the power to do so much more, but you don't have the knowledge to, make it happen. So, like, I have the knowledge, but I don't have the power, so I want your power and stuff like that. So, you gotta know where that's going. And by the end of it, like, you could see the fight, right? Which could have been a lot better, but whatever, still fine-ish. But she did say that during one of her sort of moments with Wanda didn't use her powers because she had like runes or whatever. She had spells set up in her sort of area or realm where only the caster of the runes or whatever can cast magic. And somehow Wanda was able to do it suddenly, because as she was throwing her like fireballs or whatever, her energy balls at Agatha, she was throwing her spells on her reality bubble. So the reality bubble turned into pretty much a much better reality bubble for Wanda, taking note from her somehow. I guess you can say that she kind of didn't realize of how much potential she has, so she kind of just thought about something, and then, I'm that powerful Scarlet Witch, so I can just suddenly do it. And so she was able to cast her magic, her runes or whatever you call them, and she took a page out of Agatha's book, and so she stopped Agatha from doing anything else, and then after realizing her potential, Wanda stopped her and pretty much put her in her own little prison by making her the obnoxious or noisy neighbor that she was before. So, kind of like an ironic ending for Agatha, because she was pretending to be the neighbor, but now she has to be that neighbor under Wanda's spell, and so there you go. And Agatha was just like, hey, I mean, what are you gonna do? Because you don't have anyone else around to tell you how to do this and that and stuff. Because she has knowledge, of course, and Wanda is the novice here, even though she has the bigger potential of being a very powerful witch. In fact, probably the most powerful witch in the universe. And Wanda's just like, oh, hey, I know who to go to when the time comes or whatever. So she kind of has like an ace in a hole for the future of things for Marvel. So there goes that. But it all kind of wraps up with with Vision and the kids going home, and they kind of like have a good night and whatever, and they kiss their kids good night. And as that all like wraps up, the reality bubble grows smaller and such, because of course, she has to free the people. They've been imprisoned under her spell. It was hurting them all along, right? Because they can't really be themselves. They were kind of programmed, but at the same time, they were aware of what was kind of happening in a way. So she had to get rid of the bubble. The bubble is shrinking, and as they close the door on the kids as they were going to sleep, the bubble shrinks. They disappear pretty much, and Wanda and Vision have their final moments. Even though Vision, the real Vision, is out there somewhere, could have been, made his return or whatever, but didn't happen. But anyway, that wrap up was okay. In a sense, it was decent. It was emotional, right? Can't really argue with that, and kind of heartfelt, right? Sort of ending, and of course, it is all disappears. So Wanda comes to accept the situation of things with Vision gone, although he is out there, but I guess Vision isn't ready, I guess, to come back to Wanda, I guess, I don't know. But then later on, I believe Monica Rambeau is going to go to space, catch up with Nick Fury, maybe, I don't know, to be thrown into another assignment, which is, I guess, the secret mission that includes the Skrulls, because one of the agents was disguised by a Skrull. I believe she was from Captain Marvel, right? She was like the female Skrull who could really shapeshift very well. So that could lead to the Secret Skrull War or whatever it's called. In the future, I'm not too sure. Maybe there are good Skrulls and bad Skrulls. Maybe that's how that saga could happen. But yeah, other than that, Wanda was able to take Agatha's book with her before, switching Agatha to that mode, that noisy neighbor mode, and goes off somewhere in the middle of some random place, and she's by herself, and she's doing the thing with, kind of like that Doctor Strange sort of magic where she can go out and do her own thing, but at the same time, she is learning from the book of the witch knowledge, or whatever, the book of knowledge for witches, and is learning how to be a witch, how to use her powers and such. So she's getting all that knowledge, she's catching up, pretty much, and that's pretty much the end of it. So, other than that, there's some bits and pieces that I do want to talk about with with the moments with Vision, right? I really thought those moments were really good, especially when Vision starts to catch on to stuff. Something seems to be off and stuff and such, and by the time Vision really starts to find out what's going on, that started to get really juicy. But again, it really all led to this, which was relatively flat, you know. So, so that's pretty much it. I mean, again, the biggest disappointment from all that was just Pietro not being Pietro. Of course, you know, he's really dead. It was just some guy that happened to look like the first class Quicksilver, right? Yeah, it was all kind of just weird because like they even like referenced about Wanda's accent being gone, and then after Wanda was like, "Where's your accent?" and then he's like, "What about yours?" or something like that, and then like, you know, she kind of wondered why he looked so different and such. Yeah, so that whole part was like all weird. Now that you think, I think about it, and then like, you know, again, it could have been a way to introduce the X-Men, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. I guess it was just like a nod at this point. You know, it's like, hey, you know, remember this guy? He was from the 21st century, X-Men. But I don't know. He could have been such a good Quicksilver in comparison to the MCU Quicksilver. No offense. He could have been a good replacement, which I thought was going to happen. I thought he was just a replacing actor, right? Because you know, that's like the more popular Quicksilver, I'm sure. Or they could have been just like any excuse to have this Quicksilver as, you know, pretty much the replacement of things with some weird story retrofitting, but that's not necessary because he's just Ralph Boner, just some guy named Ralph Boner who happened to look like first class Quicksilver. So literally it was a boner kill for me, and I was just very disappointed. So that sort of gateway was completely crushed. So alright, anyway, that's all I got with this review, with the spoiler portion of things. That's pretty much all I have. If you have any more stuff to talk about, or, you know, leave it down in the comment section below. Just be sure to give out a warning before things, so that way people don't read those comments. But anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out. Really appreciate it, guys. So this has been my review for WandaVision, with the non-spoiler and the spoiler portion, or the spoiler talk of things. You know, like, I don't know how I feel about the next one that's going to be coming up, which is Winter Soldier and Falcon, right? Or Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't know where that one's going. And also, please, for the love of God, just put the freaking Black Widow movie on Disney Plus. Like, dude, like, what is the point? You know, at this time, like, I don't get it. Like, why are they so persistent on releasing it for theaters? They're just continuing to delay it for the pandemic. Just release it for crying out loud for Disney Plus. Will I pay $30 for it? Maybe I will for this time around. Just because it's the MCU. Like, jeez Louise, like, do it already. Like, do something with it. You know what I mean? Like, is it that important? You know, so it makes me wonder, like, why are they so persistent on releasing it for theaters? Is it going to be that big? Is there going to be answers for Natasha as to what's going to happen with her, with the story? Like, you know, she's dead. She is the Soul Stone, right? I don't know. It's just so weird. No idea what's going to happen at this point. But anyways, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier coming up. That's going to be the one we'll take a look at next, I guess. So, yep. So, anyways, that'll be for next time. So, until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much. Sean out.